Welcome to Epic Begins with One Step Forward, the podcast that reveals how to plan, achieve, and enjoy the journey of creating epic results in your life, business, health, and relationships. Here's your host, best-selling author and motivational speaker, Zander Sprague.
Okay, December 16th, 2020, heading into Christmas weirdness. So I loved your videos. I especially like the 3 a.m. one.
Oh yeah, the 3 a.m. Yeah, that's definitely a good story.
That is a great story. We got to say that on one of the podcasts. That's like nylon or hemp.
Oh, exactly. I know I shouldn't have said it, but
I love it. It's so you. And it's such a great story. And you're just like on your edges, like pins and needles. Did you ever see him slink out to the adult toy store? Or?
I know, because I didn't even know the hotel. We didn't even know what room was calling. So I couldn't even say that was 1501 or whatever. And then again, trying to be the helpful person, I'm suggesting that they go to this adult store that was right behind, but it was dodgy during the day, never mind at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Because
always helpful behind the desk.
That's what the front desk does.
That was a really, really great story. And your story about going to Venezuela.
Yes, with
I sent you that video of an anaconda.
I know, I didn't get to see the whole thing yet.
Oh my God, they look like Alien, that movie Alien, where the opening his mouth, it's like, oh my God. Yeah, that was pretty scary. But the funniest part I thought was you were afraid when there was nothing to fear, but you were not afraid when you were in the river with the piranhas.
I know.
Yeah, so that's a really great story, especially you're only 12.
And I'm sorry I didn't make more of them. I didn't. But I thought about it. I thought, what else would I do?
Yeah, you're a good storyteller. What else would you do? Did you think of some more?
There's the one I was going to do was talk about, it's a twofer. It's talking about highway signs that I've seen because I've driven across the country a few times. And they're just some signs that obviously signs end up there because there's a problem, but they seem really obvious. I'll just tell you, driving through Oklahoma, there are two signs that you see on I-40 repeatedly. The first one says, keep off the median. Okay. But clearly the sign is there because there's a problem with people driving down the median, even though there's two perfectly nice paved lanes. Then there's another one that says, don't drive through smoke.
Okay.
I could see for 10 miles. Oh, okay, thank you. Not sure why that's up there. In Maine, when you go just as you get into the state of Maine, you go through in York, Maine, you go through the tolls, and then there's two signs. First of all, there's one that says, are your brakes safe? People in Maine aren't noted as necessarily being the sharpest tacks in the book.
Right.
So I'm thinking there's this guy going, oh, geez, mother, better check it out. Right. Then there's another one that says, drive alert. The only person that applies to is the dad from New Jersey who's been driving for 6 hours with 8 kids in the car, and it's in the driver's seat like that. Because frankly, if you could read the sign, then you're alert enough to be driving and reading, which means it doesn't apply to you.
It's true. That's funny right there.
Yeah, it's really funny. But going back to Oklahoma for a second, first time I drove across country, I drove across with Lucy. We did a 5-day wonder tour. And we had seen these signs in Oklahoma that said, keep off the median. And we're like, oh, huh. We stopped in Oklahoma City to see a friend of hers from college. And then we were driving through the night to Gallup, New Mexico, because I had to be in California for school. And at about oh, I don't know, 12:30 in the morning. We weren't in Oklahoma. We were in the panhandle of Texas, going through the panhandle of Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, I wasn't driving. Lucy was driving. We ended up on the median at 80 miles an hour. And Lucy instinctively pulls on the wheel.
Uh-huh.
The car comes back onto onto I-40. Luckily, there was no truck or anything coming. We shoot across I-40 down the stitch, and it's dark, and I'm like, holy crap. And we're sliding sideways. Externally, Lucy told me, I was very calm. I'm like, okay, put on the brake, don't slam the brake on.
Right.
Then the car started to slide sideways. I was literally just trying to relax, waiting for impact, roll. I had no idea where the hell what the hell was going to happen, right?
Right.
I'm like, it's okay. Luckily, it was a stick shift or standard.
Yeah.
So she stalled the car out, and that actually helped to stop the car.
Oof.
But internally, I'd had the car 3 weeks. So I'm like, you bitch, you're going to ruin my car. I've only had it 3 weeks.
Right.
Car comes to a stop, all kinds of dust and stuff like that. I'm like, are you okay? Yes. Are you okay? Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Don't worry about it. And I'm like, all right, look, let me get in the car and just see. I'm expecting wheels to be bent off, blah, blah, blah. I drive the car back down onto the road. Nothing wrong. Not out of alignment, nothing. The only damage was there was a little piece of plastic on the front that was like a mud guard or something, and some of that came off. I stopped at a rest stop, and a trucker gave me his knife, and I just cut it off. That's it. Amazing.
Lucky.
Yeah.
Lucky.
So,
wow.
Anyway.
I like the story about highway signs because some of them are so dumb. How many people really know what the median is? Like the people who... Right.
But signs end up there because there's a problem, right? You get a no parking or whatever, but there are those signs all around that seem to defy common logic.
Yeah. I like the one that says $1,000 fine for littering. And I'm like, you can litter as long as it's the $1,000 bill, you can litter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me just turn this pot down. That would make a good story. You're a good storyteller. You have a way of holding attention throughout a story because it's like, where is he going to go with this?
Yeah. I try really hard. Sometimes the stories, I put too many details. So I've, over the years, worked really hard to make the stories as informative, but as concise as possible. So
you are quite tight. The main thing to consider, I think, with these stories is how do you stop? Right? Yeah. You want to, as best you can, have a clear ending. Like the cat story, the cat unholy bomb. Yeah. I thought it was a good story, but then I wasn't quite sure, like, when do you stop it, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, like very irritating.
Well,
and it could be as simple as at the beginning you say, I'm not a cat person. And at the end you could say, and that's why I'm not a cat person.
I'm not a cat person. Yeah,
just
absolutely.
Something like that. Cool. All right. So I wanted to check in with you and see how things are coming along and how I can help you. And also what are the sticking points for you so I can help?
Sure. I've reached out. I took one of the links you gave me for an editor.
Yeah.
And so they wanted 2,500 words. So I gave them 2,500 words. And so I'm waiting to see if I match up with an editor there. I've got some other possible sources, but I thought, I'll give this a try.
Mm-hmm.
It was like the New York editor, whatever. There was a link that you gave me to the website to find an editor and stuff. So
yeah,
anyway.
I haven't used any of those people, and when do you think are they
in the next couple of days, I should probably have something back.
Okay. Because I was just looking at it again this morning, and depending on the editor, depending on how smart they are, there's quite a few things that could still be done. Was there a reason that part 1 and part 2 of the epic, whichever one it was?
Epic Unexpected.
Yeah, it's not like they're not after each other. There's something in the middle. Is that on purpose, or is that just the way they went?
No, that was just probably the way that I ended up editing stuff and then just pasted it in.
Yeah. But the editors will ask you, was it
Right.
deliberate? And then there was the one I was looking at just a moment ago was like, I recorded the beginning again at the end because I wasn't satisfied with the beginning. You could, or I could, or somebody could give it to the editor with a bit more clarity. But if they are great, then maybe that's not necessary.
Yeah, I think once I start to work with someone, I would explain more of what's going on.
Okay.
I did write, I did put an explanation, said, here's what I'm doing. I'm writing this book. It's actually coming from a transcription of what will be a YouTube episode and a podcast, and we're turning it into a book. And obviously the major issue that I'm trying to solve for is readability. If you're listening, it makes a lot of sense, but it doesn't always transcribe to read as clearly.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm asking for a line edit where they're going in and tightening it up and fixing, like, full edit.
That might be the way to go.
You don't sound convinced, Aurora.
It really depends on who the editor is and if your relationship is good and if the price is good.
Yeah.
Because if it was me, I would put the pieces in the right order, more or less. And then I would ask them to do an edit. So you can do
and I can I haven't sent them the whole transcript. I only sent a little so they had an idea of,
and it would be good.
And I may not match up with an editor who feels like that they can do it. And that's fair. I haven't paid any money yet. I just said, I'm interested. So give me a proposal.
That sounds sensible. Yeah. I just want to let you know I'm on your team. So if you want me to edit a bit more as a sample, or if you want, I'm just checking what are the sticking points so I can.
I wonder, do we need to record? Is there one more chapter that we need to record? Because we had talked about that.
I think there's a couple more chapters that we need to record.
Okay.
We need to record the beginning, even though and we need to record the ending.
Yep.
And then I was thinking about the one step thing. And I think there's actually quite a bit of juice in that. So I'm thinking we need to do 3 more that would go in the book, and then we can do more that don't go in this particular book.
Definitely.
What are you thinking?
No, I think that's what I thought there was the one step, there was the beginning and the end. And then the question is, before we hand it to an editor, do we get those done? Or do we then, because that obviously the idea is to hand them a completed manuscript, not, hold on, there's an additional chapter which could change.
I don't see any reason why we shouldn't go ahead and record those 3. We could do the one step first.
Okay.
And maybe the ending second, and then the beginning.
Yeah. I do have to say, I guess I'm relying on the editor to help me with this, and maybe you, which is, how do all these pieces fit together to be a cogent book?
Yeah. So that's the other thing one of the other things I wanted to check in with you. So tell me more about your concern or your.
I gotta say, I haven't looked too much at it in the last week.
Yeah.
But when I looked at it, I was like, by themselves, they're all great, but how does all of this become an interesting book?
I really see it. So there's an overall theme. It's all around the same topic-ish.
Yeah.
And so the beginning is really key, because the beginning is like, why should you read this book? What's in it for you? We're going to cover, here's the range of what we're going to be covering, name some of the chapters, name some of the benefits. Here's what happens if you get stuck or stalled and you don't take here are the consequences. So this is why this is a good book to read. And then, who is Zander Sprague? Why does he care about this? Maybe who is Aurora, if necessary. And so then that sets up like the glue that holds the book together.
Yeah, definitely.
And then in each chapter, like, it's quite likely that the chapters can be tightened quite a bit. Like, we might chop out all of the welcome again, because it's not necessary.
Yeah.
And make you and me sound more to the point. So there can be quite a bit of editing. And then so I see it as like a messy first draft. That's what we got.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
No, definitely.
Can you see that, or tell me more about what?
No, I definitely do. It's more, I haven't honestly sat down and said, all right, what chapters are going in what order? I was just trying to get everything into.
What I would suggest, and I'm glad to spend more time on this with you, you can proceed with that editor, give them 2,500 words and see how they edit it, because that'll be just a test. But in the meantime, maybe you and I could, maybe you could look at it again and see, is that the right order? Or I can look at it again for another little bit and send you what I did before, but a bit more. So that's more easy for you to work with.
Okay.
And then.
Well, I can look at it. Here's the thing. Here's my question. In Scribd, shouldn't we be able to just move stuff around easily?
Yeah, wouldn't that be good? Can I access yours?
I don't know. I've paid for it.
Because that would be.
Hold on.
Better.
I'm going to just put you down. Scrivener, sorry, not Scribd. Let me. All right, hold on. There is a way where I think all of these will show up as note cards. So you can do that. But then.
So you already did change the order and put the two epic unexpected after each other.
I did.
Yeah, okay. Also seemed to me like, I thought it seems.
There was a thing, hold on.
Another one or two.
I thought, oh, there you go, yeah. So this technically, you're able to move. For example, if we wanted to do something like that, where we go boldly, epic begins, boldly proclaim, failure's part of it, epic unexpected, 1 and 2, not yet, lean into. And this is how you can, I think, move your chapters around. And then you could, again, I don't have, then I think you can export it, but it wouldn't have all of those edits that you
because I've made those in Word.
But the whole idea here is that you're able to take your different chapters and move them around.
Yeah.
That's
Didn't
part
we
of what.
record more than 7?
Huh?
Didn't we record more than 7 chapters?
I don't think so. Hold on. I think.
It would be on that Google
1,
sheet.
2, 3, 4, 6. No, 7.
Okay.
Because keep in mind, we had weeks where we were not recorded. We were talking about stuff. We were strategizing.
Yeah.
But in terms of, can you come in and do stuff?
Yeah, it would need.
Hold on.
I know most people export it to Word to send to their editor.
The one thing I can say that I didn't figure out in Scrivener is it didn't seem to have all of the grammar and stuff like that. But there obviously has to be a way where you can writing tool. But there's got to be a way that you can share, like you can let someone have, hold on.
Let's see if I can Google it.
Reference.
Share the contents of your Scrivener project. You need to zip up the entire folder and send it to your writing partner. Sharing the .scrivx is like sharing just the executable part of the program. It's not set up for real-time collaboration.
Yeah. All right.
What I like about Word is it redlines, so it
Yeah.
shows what I've changed.
Yeah.
This must have that same capability?
I don't know that, again, you would think that it would, but I haven't figured out how. I haven't spent a lot of time, but that whole idea of how do I, like the fact that it's here's a writing program and there's no grammar, right? You can't turn on grammar. You can, in the tools, you could look up thesaurus or whatever, but it didn't seem to have any kind of like a
Grammarly
or whatever. I've got Grammarly, but.
Okay. All right. So we have one clear thing. We want to record 3 more episodes that will go into the book.
Yes.
The beginning, the ending, and the 1 step. I was thinking about the 1 step. There could almost be 2 episodes, but let's see what you have to say about it. Thinking your expertise is a lot in the shadow, although your energy is very light and bright.
Yeah.
But people can really get stuck in the bottom of a well.
Yeah.
And even if they can only take a tiny step forward, it can change their life. But if they can't, if they somehow are paralyzed or too depressed or whatever, the difference between one step, even a baby step, tiny baby step and no step is almost the difference between life and death, between hope and hopelessness.
It is. It's also, I think, as I think about it, I think of how I can easily become intractable simply because there's so many things that I need to do all at once.
Yeah.
And it is part of what I want to say is choose one thing to do. And you will find that one thing isn't nearly as difficult as it was in your mind, right? You can do this. Let me just do this one thing. And then you have those victories, and talk about focusing on the victory of when you get stuck, when something doesn't work out, when for whatever reason, you really intended to work on this in the next week and it just doesn't happen, and there's no reason for it other than you just didn't do it. You just weren't, the motivation wasn't there. You just didn't do it, and go, that's okay. Being gentle with yourself and looking at the steps that you have done and the things that you did do. Like I was thinking as coming up to the call, I'm like, oh my God, I was supposed to have, you should have had 10 videos that I had done, and I only gave you 3. But then I look and I said, I did an awesome Epic Unexpected episode yesterday with a woman named Yuzette Salazar, who used to be the producer on the Sarah and Vinny show, which is
fantastic.
on Alice.
Uh-huh.
And really good, that was really good episode. And she has, like, when I'm ready to publish it, she's got a huge following, so she'll be helping me promo it. She wrote me afterwards and said, hey, here's my cell phone. That was a lot of fun. And she lost her brother on December 7th, and 34 years ago, like 10 years before. But she honestly she mentioned it once or twice. That's how I found out about it. She mentioned once or twice on the air, but she doesn't really talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
And so it was definitely quite moving. And I gave her the option. I said, look, we don't have to talk about this, but she goes, no, it was great. I'm really excited because I was like, okay, I got a really good interview. And when it comes time to promo, I've got someone who's got a crap ton of followers.
Yeah. And you've only just really begun interviewing other people.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's the
other. So anyway, like I was being gentle with myself to say, I didn't get that done, but I did get this other thing, which I had reached out to Yuzette, and she goes, sure. But then I didn't hear back from her. And I thought, okay, maybe this isn't going to work. But then I was able to get it all set, and it was really cool.
That's so great. It's so easy to be hard on ourselves. Yeah. Like yesterday.
Well, again, I mention it, and it is one of those things that I will definitely, as I'm talking about Epic Begins, the 97-3 rule, that 97% of my day is really great and up to 3% isn't. And am I choosing to focus on more of the things that went right versus just that 3% that didn't go right? Or in my week, oh, I didn't get that done. Oh, but I got this and this done. I got my office. I got an interview done. I started to look for an editor. So yeah, there's success there. There's movement.
Well, also, as you keep showing up, eventually it's like taking a bite out of the elephant. But bite by bite, eventually you get the elephant turned into elephant soup or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah. And people are so hard on themselves. It's always seems like the default setting. Oh, you didn't do enough. It wasn't good enough. It wasn't fast enough. Well, so I think
we are the meanest person in our life.
Yeah. So I think this book is really meaningful.
Yeah.
And important. And just like a whole chapter about taking that one step, and even talking about the shadow part of it.
Yeah.
Like most of the time we were talking about taking the one step, but what happens when people don't take
Right.
that step, right?
Right. What happens when you feel absolutely stuck and scared and it seems hopeless and stuff, and what can you do to find that sunlight?
And how many people might be feeling like that right now with the coronavirus? Maybe they've been laid off, maybe they're even sick, maybe it just seems hopeless.
Yeah.
So what would you say to somebody who, like somebody I'm working with, Mario, on the interior layout design? He's fantastic. And he emailed me to say, oh, sorry, I've been delayed getting back to you, but I got the coronavirus and so I'm sick. What would you say to somebody like that?
Again, let's obviously acknowledge that you have corona, and that's not good, and it's potentially really scary. But where are the good things? What is identify that one, as you said, teeny tiny little itty bitty itsy bitsy teeny tiny step that you can take. And again, I think people think everything has to be big and bold and whatever. And I keep trying to emphasize that your epic journey may be something that overall it doesn't seem as epic, but for you in that moment, that epicness is huge. Maybe it's asking for help. You are someone who doesn't know how to ask for help. Just talk to someone who knows how to get help, right? Because a lot of time we spend so much energy trying to spin our wheels, trying to do something on our own and solve something on our own. And if we had simply asked someone else or mentioned to someone else that we were stuck, oh my God, I am so stuck. I keep buying ice cream. I know I'm bringing back your ice cream, but like I don't know why I'm doing it. I really I don't want to do it. But you mentioned to someone else and then they go, oh, I get that. I know, honestly, as a small business owner, the times that I've spent hours trying to solve a problem. And if I had simply reached out to someone goes, oh, God, yeah, I had that last month. Here's how I solved it. 5-second solve for something that I just spent 2 hours trying to fix.
Well, most people wouldn't count asking for help as a thing, but it's really difficult many times. And
for some people, they're just not. There's some people who asking for help is just second nature. I'm back in college. There was a professor who asked if my middle name was I have a question. Zander, I have a question, Sprague.
No, it's Zander Golden Mike Sprague.
Exactly. But that's because I'm there to learn. And if I'm not learning, if I don't get it, I will screech everything to a halt because I am there to learn. So I don't mind admitting that I don't know.
Yeah.
But there are lots of people who, for whatever reason, pride, ego, they don't know how to ask for help. I remember years ago, I did a coaching class, and we were all given a practice, and some other people's practice, like asking for help or speaking up. For me was like, how is that even, oh my God, how does that even work? And my practice was to pay attention when I stopped listening to other people.
That's a good habit.
Oh my God. So for some people, they're like, I don't get it. That's not hard. But for me, it's nearly impossible.
Impossible to listen all the time, or it's nearly impossible not to?
It's impossible for me to pay attention to when I've stopped listening to other people and I just want to bulldoze the conversation and ignore that people have actually, I'm just interrupting people and wanting to get my point out and just have them sit as a captive audience. That's why my getting up and being able to speak in front of people is good for everyone else in my life, because now I've gotten my fix and I'm much better at listening.
But I like what you're saying about asking for help, because that could be a step forward. Also, I think people who are sick, or even if if their body wants to have a nap, like you could count that as something you've done.
Oh, absolutely.
Or even you've been so good with your drinking your water. I drank my water. That could be a step.
But I got to say that this is terrible. I'm not even at 7 a.m. I really have not drunk my water today.
What's going on?
It started off this morning with, I'm trying to get some term life insurance. So I was having they had to come and I had to get height and weight and blood pressure. So I didn't drink a lot of water because I didn't want all that water weight to show up and make it look like I weighed more. No, really. I just drank 32 ounces of water, and even 8 ounces of water. Like after they say weigh yourself in the morning, because that's really your true weight. And I do that.
Yeah.
But I'm always amazed that even having a glass of water, I go and I step on the scale and I'm a pound up. That's because now you've hydrated a little and your cells have expanded. And even though you go, that should only be 8 ounces, but it's not. It somehow translates to more.
Anyway, about the one step.
Yeah.
The funny thing is when somebody is feeling really depressed, I don't know, speak for myself. When I feel like really blue, I feel like I'm never going to get out of here. It's so dark. It just feels like it's like the Sahara Desert. There's no end. But when I feel normal, I'm like, I can't even really remember that feeling, because it's like, oh, duh. Has it ever lasted forever? No, like maybe a day. And so if we can speak to that person when they're feeling really like the Sahara Desert feeling, and you can help them take that one step, tiny step, and then the next step could be tiny, and then the next step could be baby.
I think part of what I want to say is write down what you think the steps are that you need to take.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you do that, now you've identified it, and now you can just look at that one step and focus on that one step. And I'll go back to, as I always do, just talk about training for the marathon. And I had a schedule.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to worry about all of it. I just had to worry about, today I need to just go run for 45 minutes. Okay. Mm-hmm. Highly doable. I can move forward for 45 minutes. I don't have to worry about tomorrow, because when I get to tomorrow, I'll have it. When you're trying to do that, when you have that one step, all I need to do is write this one email. That's it.
Yeah.
Take you 5 minutes. Now you're done. You get to check that off and don't worry about the rest until tomorrow. I talked to many high school students, and I said, when you have to write a paper, 10-page paper can be a lot, but when you chunk it up, when you make it, you slice it like a pizza, and you go, all I need to do is write a page today, and tomorrow I'll write another page. And then if you get on a roll, then you can obviously write more. But if all you got to do is write that one page today, what happens is that 10-page paper all of a sudden becomes a lot more doable.
Exactly.
Because you're not trying to do it all at once. You say, oh, okay. And then you have that feeling of closure. I got that task done. That circle is closed.
Yeah.
I had that accomplishment. I have that check mark. I have whatever, however you want to say it. And say, to me, that person who's deep in the well, mm-hmm. Understand what steps you think you need to take. Understanding that there may be a lot more steps involved, but at least you start to do it. And once you start to do it, there's that momentum of, well, okay, yeah, I did that. And maybe you just write that one email and think, man, that wasn't that hard. Let me go to the next one. I'll do 2 today. I'm feeling good.
Yeah, break it down to small steps, and give yourself a pat on the back when you do those little steps. Yeah, because I think exactly right. And with both, you've got expertise helping people through grief, but you've also got you've dealt with other people with depression and marriage and family problems, and I'm sure a bunch of other things. Have you ever seen or experienced a client who is super stuck?
Oh gosh, yes. Yeah, I had a client who like was such a big Eeyore, and I I spent 45 minutes reframing, finding the good, focusing on the stuff that was good in their day, and even said, look, you got up and you got dressed and you made it to school on time. That's a victory. Like, you don't think that is, but it is.
Mm-hmm.
When you're depressed, it could be that you got out of bed and you took a shower today. No problem. Anyone who's ever had a child as a baby, sometimes getting your shower in is the victory of the day.
Tired day, yeah. I've been there.
Anyone and I'll absolutely say that if you're a parent and you in that newborn, your victory for the day could be that you got to take a shower. And even though I remember before I had children, I was like, the baby is sleeping when it's first born, it's sleeping for 10 or 20 hours a day. How do you not have time to somehow get a shower in that takes you 15 minutes? How in 8 and but you have no idea the it's not like the baby's just asleep for 18 hours. The baby's asleep for an hour, and then you are feeding, changing, they go back to sleep. You're exhausted because you've been doing this since all the way through. You have no idea. It's light or dark, and that's it. You have no idea what day it is. And that somewhat goes with the coronavirus, where I remember when it first started, like days, I put up on Facebook this thing. It was a quote from Downton Abbey. What's the weekend? And that was Maggie Smith playing Dame Grant. And someone mentioned the weekend. She goes, what's the weekend?
It's a recent invention. Yeah.
And I remember my parents were watching. My dad thought he loved that line. He was like, oh my God, that's so classic. And I was like, wow, so funny how it comes around. And it really was like on the Today Show, they're like, welcome, today is Tuesday.
That's the news item of the day.
Exactly. They start up and go, today is Tuesday. But when you're in your house the whole time and you're not leaving, you don't have any concept of it's light or dark. I have no idea what day it is. What day of the week? Doesn't matter.
So if you were to come up with 3 tips to take that one step, what I've heard so far, you'll have better steps. So what I've heard so far is stop being so friggin' hard on yourself.
Yep.
And second step is what's the smallest possible step? How can you break it down and just take that one teeny tiny step, even if it's taking a shower or sending one email, and give yourself absolute credit for that.
Yep.
And what would the third one be?
Actually, what I would do is stop being so hard on yourself. Make a list.
Oh, make a list. That's right.
Make a list of the steps and then decide on that one step you're doing today, no matter how small you think it is.
Yeah.
And then know that you're done for today. You could do more, but you don't have to do more than that. You don't have to do all the steps at once. If you're feeling highly motivated and creative, go for it. But if that's all you could do, you did it, you get to check it off, and you can sit on the couch and binge watch whatever, because you took one step forward.
And I liked what you also said when you were helping that kid. Count things that you maybe take for granted.
Right.
Like going to school.
Yep.
Having a shower. Like,
right.
Drinking your water. When you're stalled or discouraged, it's important to honor even the littlest things, because think that up, right?
That's part of what makes that 97%. There's so much that you do, and we don't even give it credit. We don't even frankly think about it until someone points out and goes, you already did. Here it is. 2:48 p.m., Aurora, and look at all that you've done so far today.
I showered.
Yeah, you dressed, you showered, you ate something.
Yeah.
You showed up on time to the meeting. All of those things are the victories, right?
Yeah.
And again, we get so much more right in our day than we get wrong. Certainly, there are the days that are just unmitigated disasters. Absolutely. But even within that, there are parts of it that are good.
Absolutely. And we need to exert a little bit of effort to notice and appreciate those.
We do.
The other thing I like to do is I like to, after a day that maybe was not so good, say it's a new day and really have that fresh energy about it. Today's a brand new, whatever happened yesterday is yesterday's news.
The getting caught up in the shoulda, woulda, couldas.
Yeah.
Dog chasing its tail. Yeah, we all have shoulda, woulda, couldas, but that's just an endless cycle that you get into. And it's fine to acknowledge what you should have done, what you could have done, what you would have done. But now you have that knowledge, so the next time you can.
Exactly. And you can stop beating yourself up about yesterday.
Yeah.
And also the other thing I find for myself, and curious about your comments, is it's so quick for us to go, yeah, I did that. But I didn't do these other things. These other things I didn't do. And it's, like you said at this call, like you did this great interview and it was wonderful and unexpected. And you weren't sure if she was going to get back to you, and she's got a list and she's supportive. But you didn't do these other videos that you wanted to do. But this thing was huge. And I find that, do you have any comments to help people remember what they did do and not just go, yeah, I did that?
We are all fantastic, and every day we're all doing fantastic things. Don't forget how fantastic you are, because frankly, if you don't believe that you're fantastic, how do you expect anyone else to, right? I have to be my number one fan. If I don't believe in me, how can I expect people out there to believe in me? And if we keep in mind that we've all done fantastic things today, again, the small things. I drank my water. I went for a walk. I got a shower. I got out of bed.
Yeah.
For someone who's really depressed, I remember after Lucy was killed, and I talk about it all the time, it was all I could do to get out of bed. I was so tired.
Yeah.
And I forced myself after a couple weeks to get into the gym. And I thought, I'm going to be asleep at my desk at 3 p.m. and get fired. Luckily, I had a good manager that, had I fallen asleep, understood enough of what was going on with me that he probably would have said, yeah, try not to do that, but you're, and that broke that cycle. But it's that whole, sometimes for people with a depressive episode going on, it can be getting out of bed can be the victory. No problem.
I like what you're pointing out too. A little bit of exercise can really help, even if it's just a walk around the block.
It breaks that cycle of depression of, I'm really tired, so I'm going to sleep all the time, which makes you more tired, which makes you more depressed, which makes you more tired, and endorphins are our own natural antidepressant.
Exactly.
Is it going to instantly break you out of it? No, but you actually will feel better.
Yeah.
And then you will and then I think a lot of times people go, that's what I had to be to school on time. But yes, you still made it on time. There are people who don't make it to school on time.
Plus, by and large, it's first world problems. Most people have a roof over their head, and they are in a fridge. And some people are dealing with fears about that. But generally speaking, anybody who's reading your book or listening to your podcast has first world problems. I think gratitude is still my go-to. Exercise and gratitude.
Yeah.
There's so much, like you said, there's 97% to be grateful for.
Yeah. And celebrate, again, celebrate the little things. Be gentle with yourself when whatever, it doesn't go exactly as you imagined or doesn't go at all. Go, okay, failure is part of the journey.
Failure is part of the journey. Yeah.
We have a whole chapter on that.
We have a whole chapter on that.
But yeah.
This seems like it could be a good part one of the one step chapter, actually. You said a lot of great things.
Yeah. Now, if we can only replicate it when we're doing it for real.
As far as the transcript goes, the transcript could be fine.
Yeah.
And I did record it, so
I know. But it's not like I wasn't really in the, I'm talking about this all the way.
Yeah. So that's a wrap for the one step forward part one.
Yeah.
With Zander Sprague. Go to epicbegins.com. That's such a great website to find out more. And I'm Aurora Winter.
And I'm Zander Sprague.
Exactly. So I'd love to hear more about your thoughts on the one step next time.
Absolutely.
So that was very interesting. That was good. I bet you have more to say about that, but that was already meaningful.
Yeah.
And could be the book chapter.
Definitely.
It'll be sliced and diced for YouTube. Would you like to do the part two or start again for that chapter next week? Or what's your schedule with Christmas and all and your family?
All right, let me look. I'm not going anywhere, that's for darn sure.
I'm also available like Wednesday's the 23rd.
Yeah.
You want to do Monday or Tuesday? I think that could be good too. I gotta check when Neil's flight.
If we could do Wednesday the 23rd, that actually would probably work well for me.
Okay, so let's plan on doing it. Keep our regular plan.
Yeah.
That's good. So then for next time, let's just record it like our usual podcast. It's fun to get back into the podcasting.
It is. I've missed that, but
I have missed it too. And then you'll let me know how you're feeling about that editor. But the other whole kind of a different way we could go about it is we could break it into bite-sized pieces and just focus on the podcasts. So we could just edit each podcast.
Okay.
And that would be satisfying because then each chapter is a complete thing. And then that would also be editing the book. In the
you lost me.
Okay.
Because I see them as three, honestly, I see each one as three distinct things. One is the video, one is the audio, and the other is the book, the written part. And the written part definitely needs some help because
it does.
As what we're saying is good, but it doesn't necessarily, it makes sense when you listen to it or watch it. But in the written form, since you don't have that, you don't have us, you don't have all the nonverbal stuff in there. It doesn't, to me, it doesn't read as smoothly. I know what I'm saying. I know what you're saying, but as I think of, if I didn't know that, how would that read? And that's where I think the editor comes in to help.
You definitely need an editor, and that can be fine approach that way. What I was thinking is,
I like how when you disagree, you don't really go, no, that's ridiculous and that's not the way. You're like, that is a way to do it.
No, I was going to say it the same way. What I was thinking is, for example, the episode, I think it's failure as part of the journey.
Yeah.
At the end, I recorded the beginning. Like if we were focused on the podcast, you would move that around, or we could have somebody move that around.
Yeah.
Here's what I want to say. I read this book. It's called, I think it's called AI. Joanna Penn wrote it and it just came out. And one of the things that really stood out to me is that audiobooks are going to very quickly be narrated by artificial intelligence.
Okay.
And people will be able to choose male voice, female,
right.
British accent, American accent, Southern accent, Filipino accent,
right.
Spanish, whatever. What's fresh in me, but this is only a hypothetical theory, and I might be ahead I am ahead of the curve with this idea. But doubling down on being human is, I really think the audiobook the live version of the audiobook will be valuable.
Oh, yeah.
So that's exciting, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You're already on that same page.
I am on that. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent.
And then, I wanted to share, don't think I did an interview with my friend, Dr. Ann Hallward, who's a psychiatrist and does awesome stuff. And we talked about, that was another really good episode. We talked about her epic journey and one of her epic journeys and stuff, which was great. But what's funny is she's the one who's got the in with NPR and stuff.
Uh-huh.
I told you, I'm like, I had this friend, but she's preparing. So she helped create this thing called Safe Space Radio, which is talking about mental health, and they've been on NPR and stuff like that. But what was really funny is, and I pointed it out to her, is she totally has this NPR voice. So she's talking about something, and you see the difference, and then as I was thinking about the needs of the unserved mental health, like literally, like it drops down, the tonality, all of it.
Yeah.
And then I'd be like, oh, I totally get that. And then she's, and so I pointed, like, we got done recording, and then I'm like, you so have an NPR voice. And she goes, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I'm going to edit this and show it to you, because I've seen you do it before. I've heard you do it, and you get that whole kind of quiet timbre, and I go, it does draw you in when you drop your voice and you start to, but I go, it's so funny to watch you do it, because you're all like animated, and then you're like, and so she's laughing. She goes, oh my God, I don't do that. I'm like, no, I just watched you do it like 4 times.
That's cool. Or do you see any of these interviews going into the book, or more for the podcast?
I think more for the podcast, in part because I think it's just you and me, and all of a sudden introducing some other person.
Right.
If there were one that I were going to do, I would say my interview with Kelly Preen, who was the actor, because I think there was you and I both picked up on I should be working at this 8 hours a day. This is my job.
Right. Yeah. I like that soundbite.
Yeah. No, it's I like that soundbite. That would be the only one, but I thought about it, and I thought, no, it's
a thing.
This is my book.
But the good thing is your podcast could go on as long as you wish.
Oh, absolutely. And it will.
That's a good topic. All right. So we'll talk next week. We'll do a podcast interview. Oh, do you have any update on the book cover? I think you almost have the book cover, or you did finish the book cover, or you didn't finish the book cover.
I guess I thought I was just going to use the logo, but I could come up with something else.
No, I think the logo is fine. Okay.
But I'm open. If you think it should be something different, I can.
Oh, we could have a look at it next week.
Yeah.
I did look at it this morning. I thought it looked good. It obviously needs your name on it.
Yeah.
And I think it's more square, and a book is a little more rectangular.
I could totally contact my designer and be like, hey, I need you to do this for me.
Yeah, that would be good. And then put your name on the bottom. And then pretty soon you can pop the book up on Amazon whenever you're ready to do that.
All righty.
Okay. It was nice to reconnect with you.
Absolutely.
I miss my Zander.
And things are okay up in the Great White North?
Always raining. I feel like I'm living in Seattle. But yeah, things are great.
You practically are.
I practically am. Yeah. Yeah. No, things are good. Thanks for checking in.
Good. And you got all your stuff?
I got all my stuff. So that's good. It's still getting it organized.
Yeah, that did 2 totally different problems there, Aurora.
Exactly.
It's one thing to get your stuff. It's another thing to figure out what the hell you're going to do with all of your stuff that you're like, oh my God, I have too much stuff.
Exactly. But I love your built-in cabinets. That must give your office like such a regal feel.
It does. It does. Now the only thing I am trying to solve for is the mess of wires.
Oh yeah.
I've been told by my aesthetics team that we didn't solve the problem of hiding all the wires, and I have pointed out that I could I may buy a different kind of. I have a big ass like tower that's sitting there, and I could get like kind of an all-in-one and a backup drive, so I could have all. The big thing is I have a lot of data stored locally, and I don't want to put it all up on the cloud because I'm sorry, I love Dropbox and have a lot there, but I also have backups just in case.
No, that's super wise because stuff is.
So I'm working on trying to have it look less cluttered and be able to hide more wires gracefully.
Supposed to not be good for feng shui to have all tangled wires.
No, but it's I can't get them all in the cabinet because the tower is so big. And there are solutions that I could do that will give more room, that will then allow me to put more of the wires like out of sight.
Yeah, no, it's really good.
We never realize until we have a full setup how many wires.
Audio and video and
right, your lights, your camera, all of your everything's a USB, so you need a USB hub somewhere because you just don't have. I mean, you got to plug stuff in.
Yeah. Are you going to send me some more juicy videos?
I am. I will work on more videos. Some funny, some more serious.
You're a great storyteller.
Thank you.
Look forward to.
I love telling stories.
Yeah, and it shows.
All righty.
All right. We'll talk to you next week.
You bet. Have a good one.
You too. Bye now.
Get your gift copy of the award-winning book, Epic Begins with One Step Forward, at epicbegins.com. That's a wrap on this episode of Epic Begins with One Step Forward with your host, Zander Sprague, best-selling author, internationally acclaimed public speaker, and licensed professional clinical counselor. To make your next conference or event epic, send an email to Zander at zander@epicbegins.com. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Remember, epic choices, epic life.